What's going on? What's going on, Zionist Station? So yeah, they said you got more to say, punk. Don't talk. Love came, Josh. Yeah, they said people are angry on pretending to have all these things that you would only really have if you had a lot of money, like a church or a carnival or a secret base. Said you're poor, motherfucker. Stop pretending you have that shit. Yeah, it just bothers them that I would feel in any way like I have something like that. Okay, Josh. Yeah. You can't take away someone's imagination. Josh. Thanks. Just that brought you just a little bitty bit. What else is there to talk about, Violet? We can move on from that. Yeah, we'll just keep reading then. I don't know, Klaus said, but I don't think the operator will help us. Violet hung up the phone and opened the door of the booth. Now that the sun was down, the air was getting colder, and she shivered in the evening breeze. Who will help us? She asked. Who will take care of us? We'll have to take care of ourselves, Klaus said. Ephrai, Sonny said, which meant, but we're in real trouble now. We sure are, Violet agreed. We're in the middle of nowhere with no place to hide, and the whole world thinks we're criminals. How do criminals take care of themselves out in the hinterlands? Yeah, Daniel really loved it that I said the book is actually too hopeful in light of the Holocaust because the children keep escaping their desperate situations. The Baudelaires heard a burst of laughter, as if in reply. A burst of laughter as if in reply. The laughter was quite faint, but in the still of the evening it made the children jump. Sonny pointed, and the children could see a light in one of the windows in Madame Lulu's caravan. Several shadows moved across the window, and the children could tell that Count Olaf and his troop were inside, chatting and laughing while the Baudelaire orphans shivered outside in the gloom. Let's go see, Klaus said. Let's go find out how criminals take care of themselves. I won't let me read another page, Love King Josh. Yeah, that's the end of my sample. Don't care if it loves. Yeah, I wanted to see where they got them out of Lulu. Let's see. I guess we could do the Grim Grotto love song. The Grim Grotto. That's only $6.99. The penultimate peril is $13.99. I saw the Grim Grotto is underrated. For Beatrice, dead women tell no tales, sad men write them down. It's a picture of a catfish. Yeah, a catfish under the ice. It looks like it's under the ice. After a great deal of time examining oceans, investigating rainstorms, and staring very hard at several drinking fountains, the scientists of the world developed a theory regarding how water is distributed around our planet, which they have named the water cycle. The water cycle consists of three key phenomena: evaporation, precipitation, and collection, and all of them are equally boring. Of course, it is boring to read about boring things, but it is better to read something that makes you yawn with boredom than something that will make you weep uncontrollably, pound your fists against the floor, and leave tear stains all over your pillowcase, sheets, and boomerang collection. Like the water cycle, the tale of the Baudelaire children consists of three key phenomena, but rather than read their sorry tale, it would be best if you read something about the water cycle instead. Anyway, that was fun. I guess we'll stop right there. Love game, Josh. What's this book? Enchantment? Love game, Josh. For Enchantment. I used to call my library card Enchantment because I love this book by Orson Scott Card. Most of them know him from Ender's Game, but he's wrote a lot of other books, but one of my favorites is Enchantment. I think I got it at Goodwill or something. For Kristen, all these years after that first kiss, and still the magic grows. Leaves. I'm 10 years old. My whole life you've called me Vanya. My name is on the school records, on government papers as Ivan Petrovich Smetsky. Now you tell me I'm really Itzhak Shlomo. What am I, a Jewish secret agent? Vanya's father listened silently, his face as smooth, weathered, and blank as parchment. Vanya's mother, who was merely hovering near the conversation rather than taking part in it, seemed to be having a little trouble keeping herself from smiling. In amusement? If so, at what? At Vanya? At her husband's sudden discovery of their intense commitment to Judaism? Whatever the cause of her almost smile, Vanya did not want to be ridiculous. Even at the age of 10, dignity was important to him. He calmed himself, spoke in more measured tones. We eat pork, he pointed out. Rack, caviar. I think Jews can eat caviar, offered his mother helpfully. I hear them whispering, calling me Zid. They say they only want to race with Russians. I can't even run with them, said Vanya. I've always been the fastest runner, the best hurdler, and yesterday they wouldn't even let me keep time. And it's my stopwatch. Mine, actually, said father. The principal won't let me sit in class with the other children because I'm not Russian or Ukrainian. I'm a disloyal foreigner, a Jew. So why don't I know how to speak Hebrew? You change everything else, why not that? Father looked up toward the ceiling. What does that look, Father? Prayer? All these years, whenever I talk too much, you look at the ceiling. Were you talking to God, then? Father turned his gaze to Vanya. His eyes were heavy. Scholar's eyes, baggy and soft from always peering through lenses at 1,000 hectares of printed words. I have listened to you, he said. 10 years old, a boy who thinks he's so brilliant, he rails on and on, showing no respect for his father, no trust. I do it all for your sake. And for God's, offered Mother. Was she being ironic? Vanya had never been able to guess about Mother. For you I do this, said Father. You think I did it for me? My work is here in Russia, the old manuscripts. What I need from other countries is sent to me because of the respect I've earned. I make a good living. Made, said Mother. For the first time, it occurred to Vanya that if he was cut out of school classes, Father's punishment might be even more dire. You lost your place at the university? Father shrugged. My students will still come to me. If they can find you, said Mother. Still that strange smile. They'll find me or not, cried Father. We'll eat or not, but we will get Vanya, Itzhak, out of this country so he grows up in a place where this mouth of his, this disrespect for everyone that doesn't measure up to his lofty standards, where they will call it creativity or cleverness or rock and roll. Rock and roll is music, said Vanya. Prokofiev is music. Stravinsky is music. Tchaikovsky and Borodin and Rimsky, Korasakov, and even Rachmaninoff. They are music. Just don't stop. Rock and roll is smart boys with no respect. You are rock and roll. All the trouble you get into at school, you will never get into university with this attitude. Why are you the only child in Russia who doesn't learn how to bow his head to power? Father had asked this question at least a dozen times before. He's obviously proud of him, don't ask. And this time, as always, Vanya knew that his father was saying it more in pride than in consternation. Yeah, he says it himself. Father liked the fact that Vanya spoke his mind. He encouraged it. So how did this become the reason for the family to declare itself Jewish and apply for a visa to Israel? You make a decision without asking me, and it's my fault? I have to get you out of here, let you grow up in a free land, said Father. Israel is a land of war and terrorism, said Vanya. They'll make me a soldier, and I'll have to shoot down Palestinians and burn their houses. None of that propaganda is true, said Father, and besides, it won't matter. I can promise you that you will never be a soldier of Israel. Vanya was scornful for a moment, until it dawned on him why Father was so certain he wouldn't be drafted into the Israeli military. Once you get out of Russia, you aren't going to Israel at all. Father sighed. What you don't know, you can't tell. There was a knock at the door. Mother went to answer. Maybe here in Russia you aren't in class for a while, said Father, and this nonsense of running, you'll never be world champion, that's for Africans. But your mind will be quick long after your legs slow down, and there are countries where you will be valued. Which other countries? Asked Vanya. Mother was letting somebody into the apartment. Maybe Germany, maybe England, Canada, maybe. America, whispered Vanya. America, whispered Vanya. How do I know? It depends where there's a university that wants an aging scholar of ancient Slavic literature. America, the enemy, the rival, the land of jeans and rock and roll, of crime and capitalism, of poverty and oppression, of hope and freedom. All kinds of stories about America, from rumor, from the government press. It was 1975 and the Vietnam War had ended only a few years ago. America had bloody hands, but through all the propaganda, the rivalry, the envy, one message was constant. America was the most important country on earth, and that's where Father wanted him to grow up. That's why Mother's Jewish relatives were suddenly the only ones who counted. They and Father's grandmother on his mother's side to get them to America. Yeah, when I was reading it the first time, I'm sure when I read those classical composers, I didn't really try to sound them out or anything. I know I didn't. To get them to America. For a moment, Vanya almost understood. Then Mother came back into the room. He's here. Who's here? Asked Vanya. Father and Mother looked at him blankly. He's called a mohel. A mohel. Well, how do you pronounce that? I'm German, not Jewish. Moil. Yeah, it's a moil. Yeah, moil. He's called a moil, said Mother finally. Then they explained, I've heard the moil pronounced before, like in conversation or watching a TV show like Seinfeld. But I've never read it. It's spelled with an H. Then they explained what this old Jewish man was going to do to Vanya's penis. It's called a moil, said Mother finally. Then they explained what this old Jewish man was going to do to Vanya's penis. 10 seconds later, Vanya was down the stairs, out on the street, running for his life, running in despair. He was not going to let a man take hold of his member and cut bits of it off just so he could get on a plane and fly to the land of cowboys. By the time he came home, the moil was gone, and his parents said nothing about his abrupt departure. He took no false hope from this. In Vanya's family, silence had never meant surrender, only tactical retreat. Maybe just stop right there, Love Game.